In a previous video I showed you that computers didn't increase the productivity of economies, but in this case of Italy. Because in this model I did, internet had a significant impact while computer not. But another high impact on the productivity came from the median age. You can see it more clearly from the data I used to do that previous video I did just in Italian on Instagram. And here you see the parabola I also mentioned in the model. Let's do a strong hypothesis, so something that I'm up to debate in the comments and not only. We have a golden zone for the median age in relationship to productivity. Let's assume this does not apply just to Italy, and we can observe a golden range between 32 and 38 years old for the median age. But since Italy has a median age of 47 years old, the question becomes how to decrease this number by at least 9 in a single shot. We have a few options: a record rise in newborns or an absurd amount of new immigrants. About the newborns, we know that we can have records after wars, because after wars people have a more optimistic outlook on the future. But since we don't see any civil or world war at the door, I hope this won't age badly, we have to exclude the newborns hypothesis. And then it remains the option for immigrants. But immigrants from which countries? Of course, if we want to lower the median age so that we belong to this range, the immigrants that have the lowest median age. But with this approach, we have, let's say, three problems. Immigrants belong to at least one of those three categories. Politically problematic, for example, black immigrants, I want to discuss this. Too expensive or not really employable. For example, let's take Niger. Black people for Salvini and so on in Italy, but there are many sosia in other countries. Black people are a problem. If they are white, like Ukrainians, no. So you see that many, let's say the absolute minority we see here are black. So let's assume they become a problem. For Palestine, they are less black but alive, so they could become less problematic in that terms. But if you came from Palestine, and we know that immigration also gets fueled by wars, would you prefer to emigrate into Germany or Italy? I would choose Germany because I know I would have a better life in terms of economic treatment, not about the weather, of course. As I said before, one of the three problems belong to Italy or whatever country can't afford certain immigrants, because we live in a world where we compete not just for resources but for human capital, in this case immigrants. So let's go on with the list. We see Afghanistan, we see Kenya, another part of Palestine, Iraq, another country that had a war, then Egypt. If we continue to scroll, we start to see whiter, let's say, countries, and we find first Latin America, that in Italy we know because of baby gangs and so on. I mean, in terms of criminality, not to generalize. Then also Philippines, that Italy knew some years ago, also Laos, and this country near to Russia. And you see that we start to notice that we have also Israel, that Italy could use to diminish the median age. But again, Italy can't afford immigrants from Israel because their average pay is much higher than the one of Italy. Now, let's say, as I hinted, that Italy takes immigrants to lower that famous median age from countries that have currently a war or are most likely to have a war. Let's start from Ukraine. Ukraine, you see that it is not so better than Italy. Also, it is right to say that generally who emigrate has a lower age than the one of the country in terms of median age. But again, Italy won't get such an improvement for our target variable, even though in 2022 we had already an important influx of young people. Let's take another country, Georgia. It is surely better than Ukraine. Let's take another one, Kosovo. It is a bit worse than Israel, but surely more affordable for Italy. Let's take Taiwan, and you see again that as Ukraine, it is not such a good deal. Let's take North Korea and more or less the same observation of Iran, another country at risk of war. So as you can see, there is no solution actually with this approach, because in any case you can just afford those countries that not always you can find a purpose for them in terms of employment. This demographical approach, that means the median age that drives productivity, also got investigated by an academic that considered the case of Japan, that has many similarities with Italy. And I don't know why Italy, at least in a public manner, doesn't say it out loud. But basically, this person, so a flower doesn't make spring, but anyway, says that the stagnation of the lost decades in Japan came from demographic changes after World War II. That means population aging caused by low fertility and increased longevity. In the case of Italy, increased longevity also because of universal health insurance, the SSN. This part of the dependency ratio, as we call it, also resonates a lot with Italy. But one of the main differences between Japan and Italy is that in Italy immigrants are more integrated than in Japan, because we know that Japan has a very different culture. All this also to say that I personally have doubts that the new wave of artificial intelligence, the generative one, that comes from GPT and so on, will have an impact on GDP. And that impact, some say, will come from an increase of productivity. I don't believe so. I believe that new wars, or the current ones that could evolve, will shuffle the cards in terms of immigrants, and some countries will benefit more than others, and such countries will have an increase in productivity. If in your company you want to increase the productivity of your employees thanks to statistical methods, you can contact me on the contact page of Enterprise Statistics or in the link you can find below. Bye, and see you the next time.